Hey, what is up guys, Lou here again for Techno Logo, and boy did we ever get an amazing treat today. So October the 4th, like we talked about in a couple videos past, Google was going to be announcing its new Pixel phones. Those still kind of leave me underwhelmed. The hardware is very uninspired. It just looks like a phone. Google did a really cool thing. It wasn't just the phones that they were planning to launch, it was this new version of Google, this new hardware oriented version of Google that they're kind of putting all their weight behind. Not only did we get two new phones, the Pixel and the Pixel XL, we also got a smart speaker, a VR headset, a new Chromecast, as well as a couple of smart Wi-Fi routers. There were three big takeaways from yesterday's event. So first off, let's talk about that phone. So the Google Pixel and the Pixel XL basically are the phones that they were leaked to be. Everything you'd expect from a premium smartphone, it's there. It's got the latest processor, the latest GPU, 4 gigs of RAM, a 128 gigabyte option, just the works. And that wasn't really the surprising bit, because people were really expecting Google to start pushing this new phone, but what they didn't expect was the pricing. Google wants to price their new Pixel phones directly against the iPhone, and this actually is reflective of their, basically what I feel is their new strategy or their new approach. Because see, this event wasn't really about the phone, it was about building the future for Google, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the phone is essential, so that whenever you need to do something, you have to use Google services to get it done. The phone is pretty much top spec, top of the line, along with the same kind of price tag, so it's very much a flagship device. But two things that stand out that Google claims about these new phones are the following. First, the camera. It's supposed to be the highest rated smartphone camera ever. Got an 89 DxO Mark score, and that is supposedly the highest ever given to a smartphone camera. From the samples I've seen, it does look like takes pretty good pictures. This is one aspect of the phone that Google really has to nail if they want to even slightly challenge the iPhone as king of the phones. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. Everything everyone does is being benchmarked against the iPhone. There's a second thing Google claims. By using a new fast charging technology, or their version of a fast charging technology, you can get 7 hours of use from a 15-minute charge, and actually seems like something that's very useful. So we'll see if that actually does come to fruition. It seems like an interesting concept, and if the utility of that would be just off the charts. But as I said, the phone is just a portal to get you to start using Google's new ecosystem, and in the heart of that ecosystem is something called Google Assistant. Now, the Google Assistant basically is just this AI. You've already seen glimpses of it. Google Now and Google Now on Tap are basically kind of that, but the Google Assistant is baked into the software of this phone, and it basically reaches into every single pore of this device. Why is that important? Let's say, for example, you wanted to find out how old Steve Jobs was when he died, right? Traditionally, what you'd do is you'd hit the home button, Google Now would pop up, and then you get to ask, how old was Steve Jobs when he died? That's the old way. With Google Assistant, basically all you need to do is, if, say for example, you're looking at a bio of Steve Jobs, you hit the home button, you hold it down, and Google Assistant will come up, and you can just ask it, how old was he when he died? The Google Assistant will take into account what you had on screen and then relate that, the context of that, to the question you just asked. It basically understands what you mean, and for all intents and purposes, everyone who tried this out was very impressed at the speed at which this new Google Assistant could catch whatever you're saying. And this Google Assistant powers basically everything about the new Google ecosystem. So the Google Assistant right now basically just lives on two devices, or two types of devices, the Pixel phones and the Google Home smart speaker. So that segues pretty nicely into the third thing I wanted to talk about, and that's Google Home. Actually, and the Google Home is basically the answer to Amazon's Echo. It's a smart speaker, if that makes any sense. Put it down somewhere in your room, and you can just say, okay Google, and you can ask it questions and it'll spit answers right back at you. And this is interesting for a couple reasons, because again, this entire event is about building Google's new ecosystem, and that necessitates having a central control hub. Now, ideally, it would be your phone, but then that can also get cumbersome because sometimes your phone might be out of reach or it's in your pocket, you don't want to pull it out. You just want to go ahead and ask the room a question like, okay Google, has my flight been delayed? Or okay Google, what's the next flight going to San Francisco? So it's these kinds of basic sort of human interaction, human-ish interactions that Google wants to be able to answer with Home. So basically you just plop it down there in the middle of your room and it's ready to take commands. The interesting thing about that is, depending on how many of these new Google ecosystem devices you have, it could very well control your home. So say for example you have the recently announced Chromecast Ultra hooked up to your HD TV. Okay Google, could you play on my TV a compilation of Bat Dad videos? So you take that information and then tell you, okay, it's gonna start up your Chromecast, it's gonna load up YouTube, and then it's gonna show you the relevant video. The simplicity that they're looking for here is basically as if you're asking someone to do it for you, and it just happens. Based on what we've seen so far, it seems to work that way, exactly as Google envisions it. It's that level of sophistication and finesse that basically makes you want to, just basically makes you feel like it's literally the future is here. Between that and Apple's new headphone pairing thing, it really feels like we've taken a huge step forward here in technology. I mean, the hardware may look the same, but the functionality of it has gone leaps and bounds forwards. I feel like this more opinionated Google, it's going to be something of a force to reckon with. The massive resources Google has behind it will definitely assure that they're gonna get their own slice of the pie, and how far they can push everyone else back is only a matter of time. The paradigm shift going on here at Google is basically that they can't just be a software company. If they're just a software company, they are at the mercy of all the other hardware folks. If the hardware folks say, you know what, we're no longer gonna use Google, Google's gonna be screwed in the pooch. So what Google is doing here is basically trying to turn into Apple. That's the crudest analogy I could think of for the situation, but that's basically what they want to do. They want to be able to control the user experience from end to end. I think this is a good start, a good first step. The Nexus line is no more, unfortunately. Kind of a bummer, but the Nexus line served their purpose. It was an experimental sort of thing. There are a lot more features, and those are definitely something that we're going to be talking about in further videos. But for now, this is just really what excited me from this event. I can't help but get that feeling, you know, that really the future is here. You know, it's only a matter of time before all this amazing technology converges into something that can be akin to the future home, where basically once you step out of your house, everything just shuts off. That everything that needs to shut off just shuts off automatically without your manually having to flip off the switches of everything. It's just been a very interesting year in the tech world, and I'm hopeful for the future. I'm really hopeful. I think that's all the time we have for today. This video is already running a bit long. I'd like to know in the comment section down below, are you excited for the Google Pixel phones? Or are you planning to get all the other new hardware Google announced? The Chromecast Ultra, the Daydream VR headset, as well as the home and the Wi-Fi routers. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe in the thing down below. There's also a link to my Facebook page. Go ahead and like that for other updates. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys stay awesome.